Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. I believe it is episode 73 altogether of Cube World and episode 42, if I've done my math correctly, of Cube Ramblings. For me, it is Saturday night, December the 13th of 2014. We are rapidly approaching the twilight of 2014. It has been a good year, a very good year. I've been sort of debating to myself as to whether or not I do some sort of little segment on Cube Ramblings at some point about games that I've played this year and things that I've liked, since every game publication out there and gaming site out there is pretty much going through their top 100 or top 50 or top 10 or whatever. All the top lists are coming down. I might do that. I'm not quite sure. If I do, I'll save it for a little bit later in the year, just prior to the new year, I'd say. But it's been a good week. It's been a very cold week. My hands are quite rough from the cold weather. Those of you who have listened to me long enough know that whenever the cold weather comes around, my hands get all chapped and raw from the cold air, and yeah, they are quite bloody at this point. But I have the means upon which I can provide relief there. I just have to do it. But it's right around this time of the year that I have several realizations. The number one realization is I have not done anything yet to prepare for the holidays. Like getting presents and ready, and cards and all that stuff. Luckily, most of my family is rather is older now, to the point where I don't have to necessarily worry about presents so much, but I do have to worry about cards and various other signs of appreciation. So I have to I have to put the controller down for a little bit at some point and actually go out and do those things. The second realization is that with the rapidly approaching close of 2014, my rapidly approaching realization is that I now have to calculate one additional year onto whenever somebody asks me what my age is. It's it's not something that, after a while, it's after about 25 or so, you start to get to a point where it's like, you know what, I really don't want to keep track anymore. I really have no desire to keep track anymore. And in fact, when people ask me, I often have to sit back and calculate in my head exactly how long it's been. Yeah, it's like, because when you're young, it's like, oh, I can't wait until I'm 18, I can do this and that, and I can't wait until I'm 21 and I can drink, and I can't wait until after you're 21, you're like, I can't wait until I'm 25 so I can have rental cars without restrictions and get favorable insurance for a change, car insurance and all that stuff, and not have to pay extra rates. But then after 25, it's like, well, okay, that's pretty much gotten all the milestones down. I mean, the only other milestone would be the presidency, which I think you have to be over 35 or something like that, which was never really a milestone on most people's brains. So I guess that's not really much of anything. But it's just coming to that fact of getting older. So I've been playing lots of stuff. Again, it's like, as I've said a couple times already, that the floodgates have sort of opened again, and a lot of things I've been waiting on are starting to really flesh out and become interesting and cool. And there's a lot of things that just were never on my radar that suddenly popped onto my radar and are just fantastic. The Spatials being one of those. I hadn't heard anything at all about it, and then there was an article on Rock Paper Shotgun, I believe, that tipped me off to it, and I went and looked at the game, and I'm like, oh, this is this is actually quite fantastic. Because at first blush, I thought, oh, it's probably just like, it looks a lot like Startopia, which is a game I enjoyed. But it's, basically a space station. You're building up a space station, and it had like elements of sort of theme park tycoon and stuff in it. Like, oh, you got to bring, just like Startopia did, where you got to have all these attractions and keep all the people happy and everything. And I thought, oh, well, this will be good. I haven't played Startopia in ages, so this will be a nice little distraction. But whether or not I would, I thought when I sat down with it, I'd do maybe one video on it, and that'd be about it. But then I started to peel back that onion and found all those interesting, additional things like away missions and leveling up and all that stuff. I was like, oh, you know what? This is a lot deeper than I thought it was, and it's actually quite fantastic. and it's only an alpha game, so I went immediately to this must exist as a series on my channel. So much like the progression was much like with Soul Zero, right? It was like, I looked at it, I was like, oh, I'll just do probably one video, just give some feedback, that kind of thing. And then when I started playing, I was like, you know what? There's a lot here, and this is rather good, and I want to play this as a series. And so same thing happened with the spatials, and it looks like a lot of people share that sentiment, as that it was a very good looking game. So hopefully driven some people to them and had them take a look at it. It's quite an interesting game in its own right. So hoping good things there, hoping for good things. In addition to that, I've just been looking at a lot of games on the side, trying to get a couple more side quest videos recorded at some point. As long as I'm trying to do the research necessary to actually speak with confidence on things. For instance, when I was playing Clandestine, which is the last side quest video I did about a week or two ago, I sat down and played it quite a bit, but I didn't play all of it because there's parts of it that are still in development, still early. I just wanted to play enough to get a good handle on it, and even then, I wrote down stuff, on a piece of paper, and I just kind of referred to it as I was recording, just to make sure I hit all the bullet points. And even then, I missed some things. Like, there's other mechanics of that I regret it too, because it's like, oh, I really should have amended my video to also show this other mechanic. Where, there's a whole other mechanic in a game where you can, as the hacker, buy out, units on the board. Like, you can tell your operative to go drop off some health packs or something at a particular dead drop location, and then by doing that you'll be able to walk past one of the guards that has been bought out by that and get access to things. And I didn't get a chance to show that off because it didn't really dawn on me at the time. I was like, oh, I forgot all about this. And then as I was editing, I was like, oh damn, I wanted to show that off and I didn't. But oh well, it's still, I think, stands well on its own. From the perspective of a lot of side quest videos, I think that one was one of the better ones I think I've done, because I went in and I had notes, and I really think I covered 90% of the bases as far as that goes, as far as what I had seen. So I hopefully that's good things. Hopefully that means that I'm getting better at at the YouTube thing. Having said that, I also released Soul Zero episode 52, and in that, it was almost a year, not quite a year, but darn near close. It'll be a year, December 15th. But I at the very beginning of that, I showed a clip from my very first episode back on the 15th of December of last year. And, that was the first time I had listened to that particular video in probably about a year. And just listening to myself speak it was eye-opening. It was eye-opening to hear how nervous and unsure I was. And I still have a lot of that in my speech. I still stutter a lot and stammer over words and reuse words over and over and over again ad nauseum. And I have a lot of what they call verbal tics, saying for one instance, and various other things, and pauses, and not being sure of what to say next. My brain still hasn't quite caught up, or I'm sorry, my voice hasn't quite caught up to my brain, and my brain hasn't quite let loose yet as far as just saying things and being on the ball, having some actual vocalizations and some fun and some comebacks. Every once in a while I get one in, but a lot of times a lot of my LP videos end up falling into the category of, okay, let's just comment on everything that's happening on the screen and not much else, not bringing the personality into it, which can be good and bad, right? It's on the one hand, I want the games to speak for themselves, but on the other hand, you do really want to bring some personality to the table. So it's a balancing act, and it's one that I think I'm getting a little bit better at. Not where I want to be, for sure. Particularly when I compare it to when I was doing videos that were post commentary. So, for instance, most of my videos at the very beginning of my channel, Saturday Morning RPG, the first episodes of Cube World before I actually switched over to doing the podcast format, well, actually, I guess technically even continuing into the podcast format, but you know what I mean with that. And also Starpoint Gemini as well. Those are all post-commentary. And I did that because I wanted the opportunity to sit back and actually have stuff come into my brain, like be able to watch the video and then make comments on it. Much like I have in my head the constant idea that I would be something like a Mystery Science Theater 3000, which is a fantastic series back in the day. Basically, the precursor to all LPs, I would say, except they weren't Let's Playing video games. They were to the best of my vocalizations, Let's Playing B movies, B sci-fi movies. They were just making snarky comments and jokes during movies, and just you would see bits and pieces of movies, and then they would do like skits to try to pass some of the time, some of the boring parts of the movies, so on and so forth. And I always have that, whenever I'm doing any recordings, I always have that in the back of my head, like, hey, how can I inject some of that fun into what I'm doing without being annoying as hell, right? Because that's the key, right? That is the nirvana as far as like LPing goes, right? Is being like the guys on and gals of Mystery Science Theater 3000, where they were irreverent, I guess, but not they were not what's the word I want to use? They were not nasty, right? They commented to have fun. They didn't comment to make fun, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Like, there's a difference between joking at someone else's expense and just joking. And they always try to just joke, like make the movie part of the joke, not the butt of the joke. And that's what I try to do with games as well. I mean, it's very hard. I was just doing a live stream on Friday. Had a bunch of trouble with the live stream, actually, of The Crew. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, about my thoughts on that. But during that I was making a lot of, snarky comments about the physics and stuff. And there's a fine line there, right? It's like, at some point, you have to acknowledge the ridiculousness of it, but you have to do it in a way, like I try to do it in a way that's not basically browbeating, developers. I see a lot of YouTubers that do reviews, and they just go guns blazing, right? And they're like, oh, this is lazy, and this is that, and this is, and there's a way to do that. There's a way to convey that. I feel like there's a way to convey that without being really, again, the English language is sort of failing me here, without being over the top, I guess. Even though there's a point where you do have to be you have to be entertaining, and a lot of entertainment does come out of being a little bit over the top and being very, irreverent and things of that nature. But as you can see, there's plenty of examples of developers, particularly, small developers and even some AAAs, where they were, they get very, very upset with some of the feedback because it's very extraordinarily negative, beyond just beyond constructive feedback and into, downright shots fired territory. And you see them overreacting a lot of times and having copyright takedowns of things. And I don't ever really want to get to that point. First of all, I don't have any desire to review things. I have a desire to play things and provide as constructive feedback as I possibly can. I'm by no means a game tester or QA person, but I feel like I can offer something along the lines of, hey, I'm having trouble lining these two things up because my brain's having trouble with the 3/4 view or something like that. You know what I mean? It's my problem. It's not really the dev's problem. They didn't really do anything wrong. It's just a little bit of feedback. Do with it what you will, right? I'm not going out there with a bullhorn going, this game is shit because I can't play it correctly. It's like, that's not really the kind of feedback I want to be given, right? It's more like, no, this is, there's a little teensy problem I'm having with it. Just my problem. It's not necessarily a problem with the game, kind of thing. But weird and wild tangent there. But yeah, I don't even know how I got off on a tangent, but I did. This is Cube Ramblings after all. I do ramble and go off on tangents. But I hope that, I know how I got there with the side quest thing. I think I'm getting a little bit better with all that. I think I'm getting closer to where I want to be as far as, like, hey, I'm just kind of playing games. I'm just having fun, just enjoying myself. And here's a little bit of feedback. And, here's a kind of a look at what's going on. So, in that same realm, I have a bunch of games that I'm trying to gather some information on. I've been playing Guild Commander, which I think there's enough there that I can do a video on. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's enough there I can do a video on it. Excuse me 1 second here. Oh, excuse me. Had to cough there for a minute. My throat is a bit scratchy. So if you can't tell from all the lip smacking, I believe me, I hear it when I record. I can't do much about it because it's the air is very dry. It doesn't matter how much water I drink, the air is very dry, and it will still be the same thing. So been playing Guild Commander, which is an interesting one. I'll probably do a side quest video on that soonish. What else? Oh, I've been looking at Elite Dangerous. That went into open beta and I have access to it. So I've been playing a little bit of that. It's I'm not at a point yet where I can do a video of it. I don't think, unless it's some sort of comedy video where I show you just how terrible I actually am at it. It's one of those games where it will basically take over every key on your keyboard plus your mouse. I tried playing it with my joystick, and it was damn near unplayable. Like, I couldn't map the joystick correctly. I don't know why that is. I don't know what was wrong with it, but it was not really working so well. I mean, the flight controls were okay, but I have this problem with the joystick where it's no matter how much I play with the dead zone, it still doesn't quite stay dead, when I have my hand off the joystick. So you're always having that like small correction and stuff. And I've tried recalibrating the joystick, and I still get that in every time I unplug the joystick and I plug it back in, it comes back again. So it's just an annoying little thing that I have to work through. But the game is actually relatively playable with the keyboard and mouse, maybe with a little bit of a frustration in there. But yeah, even with the joystick, it will take over everything. Like it has button key bindings for every damn thing under the sun. So it will, even if you plug in a joystick, it's like, hey, here, you can also use the mouse for this. And I mean, you have to have 10 hands to do everything in there. Or it harkens back to the days when you used to have those flight sim games. I remember this very vividly. You used to have the flight sim games, and they would, in the games package, it would give you a keyboard overlay, and you just lay it down over your keyboard, and it would give you like all the here's what all the keys do. A little little mat that you would lay over it, and the keys would go in between all the little holes in it. It's that level. It is that level of game. It is old school in that regard. So I haven't played enough of it to really get the hang of it yet. I was playing some of the tutorials, and I think one of the tutorials is broken because you had to. It was the one where it introduces you on about how to travel to other systems due to the light speed travel. And it tells you, hey, go select this system on the map and then go to it. But the game never came out of hyperspace. It's like you're just forever stuck in hyperspace. It was like never dropping you back out again. And so I don't know what happened with that. So maybe that's just a tutorial bug. I don't know, but try and get used to it. You have to manually dock and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of manual tweaks and stuff you have to do. It is very much sort of a flight sim of space games, which is good. I don't have any problem necessarily with that. I do like a little bit more arcadey stuff, but I can deal with it. I can deal with the flight simmy stuff in space, particularly because it's in space, and I don't have too much to smash into except space stations and other things like that. But it does feel like it's going to be like one of those slow burners, like the X series. The only reason I haven't done any videos on the X series is because it is a very slow burner, a very, very slow burner. It takes you a while just to get to a point where things start getting interesting. Hopefully, Elite is a little bit better in that regard, but I'm not quite sure. The other thing is Starpoint Gemini 2. I still need to sit down and start playing through that. That one, I think I might end up playing that as a post commentary, possibly. I don't know. I haven't quite figured that out yet because there's going to be a lot of that game that I'm going to have to cut out. I think because there's going to be there's a lot of downtime. Much like I think Elite probably has a lot of downtime too, and I don't have enough topics in my repartee to pull out to make those down periods not so boring to watch. So the other thing is those speak to me as more of live stream type things. So on one hand, I could do the lazy man approach and just say, okay, I'm going to do these as a live stream, and then I'm just going to post the entire live stream, and then it's up to you to just skip through the parts that suck. like so many others. Or I could, do the editing myself too. But I does feel like that would be something that would be more akin to a live stream type of deal. Play some tunes, fly through space. It seems like a nice weekend thing. Speaking of a live stream stuff, had a lot of problems streaming to Twitch on Friday for the Friday stream. I'm noticing that I'm just getting a whole lot of, when I watch because I have the preview running while it's going, and my preview was stopping every 5 seconds. Like I feel like I was lagging to hell and back. I tried switching from, I was going to the New York server, and I switched to Ashburn, Virginia, which in my brain, if any server is going to work, it's going to be one in Ashburn, Virginia, because Ashburn, Virginia is like the king of server farms. Like there are tons of cloud-based server hosting and server farms in Ashburn, Virginia. There's a whole internet pipeline there. It's a major internet segment. So if that lags out, then you're pretty much beyond hope. And unfortunately, that was lagging out as well. So I ended up switching over to Hitbox, which I have not even fully set up. I don't even have I have a profile on there, but I don't even have I don't have links to my YouTube channel or anything on it. It's just literally a Baer profile. It says, I'm also on YouTube. That's all it says. And I started streaming over there, and guys, Hitbox is actually quite fantastic with that. Like I can have a private stream that is not visible to test things first, and then switch it over to visible. You can, it doesn't have the chat integration that Twitch has. Like the one reason I like Twitch a lot more, besides the fact that there's more people over there, is that I can use Hex Chat, and I can just connect to it through that. Hitbox might have something similar, but I haven't found it yet, so I'm not quite set up for that yet. So I had to keep looking over to the right to see if anybody had typed anything, but there's nobody really doing anything on Hitbox. There's nobody really watching anything on Hitbox, so I didn't have any viewers during the stream, but that was okay. I just wanted to have a proper stream that wasn't lagging to hell and back. And honestly, over on Hitbox, since there's not that much traffic, like I was getting only about 2 seconds of delay. It was beautiful. It was HD. I'm not, even non-partners get HD over there. It's quite nice. I might do more. I'm going to try to I might split my streaming between the two services. It depends. I want to stay on Twitch. I want to have a presence on Twitch. I also want to have a decent stream too, so I might end up switching between the two from here and there. I am not coming down with anything, that's for sure, but I am coughing quite a bit. I think it's just my throat is extra dry. Anywho, so that's brings you up to speed with a lot of the stuff that I've been sort of working on and doing. I think this is going to be a shorter episode of Cube Ramblings than normal. There isn't a whole lot of news going on, but there's a few things that I picked out of the ether here to take a look at. Oh God, I gotta cough again. Hang on. Sorry about that. Man, oh man. It is, I just took a swig of water too. It is quite dry, quite dry. So, a couple things. First of all, I'd be remiss if I did not talk about this. Ralph Baer, probably wondering who the hell he is. He is widely credited as the father of the home video game console. He was his first, I think he called it the brown box. His first designs for a home console where you're able to play Pong and various other things on the TV. He was the inventor of that. Sold the designs to Magnavox, and they were integrated with the very first, what is credited as the very first home video game system, the Magnavox Odyssey, back in 1972. He was also the guy that made the game called Simon. It's the little memory game. 4 buttons, colored buttons. They beep boop boop in a certain order, and then you had to repeat the order, and so on and so forth. He just recently died. I believe it was last Sunday. He died, 92 years old. Very, very prominent. I mean, we probably wouldn't have the types of games that we have today without his inventions. Video games might not have been a thing. And to sort of bookend that, I mean, back when he was doing it, he was working on CRT monitors and trying to get the various electronics to work, and magnets and various other things. He had a light gun game and so on and so forth. I'll bookend that with I'll bookend that with a cough. Man, I am struggling today. Holy crap. I'll bookend that with an article from VG247 that says that this year, the gaming, basically video games, the gaming entertainment area has just surpassed $1 billion for the year, thanks to Black Friday sales and holiday sales. So yeah, we went, Ralph Baer started the whole thing. Nobody knew what a home video game console was at the time. It was just something brand new. And now we've, this year, $1 billion in sales thus far this year, as far as gaming is concerned. So huge deal. I think we owe a lot to that man. He had, I believe, over 150 different patents worldwide related to his work. And from what I understand, he was still working. I mean, he was. I think I forget what company he was working for, but he was still very much involved with just electronic doohickeys and gadgets, right up to the end. He loved the heck out of it. I don't know that he was doing anything with video games anymore, but I think he was still doing a lot of just electronic devices, making a lot of electronic devices. So very interesting little history of video games there. I would recommend you do some research on that, and research on him and the Magnavox, and just see sort of the progression of video games from what it was then to what it is now, to the huge big deal that it is now. Along those same lines, Steam. Been a couple things with Steam this week and last week that I didn't get to. So Steam is sort of, where we're talking about the home console earlier. Now we're talking about pretty much, I'll say, the leading, maybe not the pioneer, but the leading digital delivery platform, namely Steam. As far as video games are concerned, anyway, they're not resting on their laurels. They're doing quite a bit of changes here. They've added the ability to do broadcasting, and it's just for their beta package right now, the beta Steam delivery service. You can see a little tab now in Steam that will show you people who are broadcasting. You can set your different privacy settings and all that stuff. Basically, Twitch for Steam, basically. with a lot of differences. Number one, there's a lot of different privacy settings. I think it's more of a, if I were to try to analyze what they're actually going for, I would say it's probably they're trying to go for more of the casual, I'm not trying to stream to millions of people, just trying to stream to a few friends here and there. Going for the more casual, virtual couch is what I like to call it. There's been a lot of criticism lately with, maybe not criticism, but a lot of lack of understanding. There was a recent South Park episode that sort of tried to, I guess, I wouldn't say make fun, but tried to introduce people to the idea of Let's Playing and streamers and people who just play video games on YouTube. They featured PewDiePie in their season finale, and you read the comments on the articles talking about it, and you see a whole large percentage of people like, I don't really understand the appeal to this, and I don't understand the appeal to that, and a lot of them they're looking at it from the very traditional standpoint, which is, when I was a kid, we used to do the same thing, but we would go over our friend's house and we'd sit on the couch and watch them play, and then we'd talk to them directly, and then we could take the controller over and do our own thing and that kind of stuff. And they don't quite understand the concept of the streaming, which to me, or YouTube for that matter, to me, it's very much the same thing. It's not as interpersonal, I guess. You can't necessarily take over the controller unless you have something like Twitch Plays Pokemon, in which case you sort of can. But it is very much a virtual couch, right? You're just watching somebody play. You may not know that person at all. You may not know that person personally, but you know their online persona, and you're watching them because you enjoy watching them. And a lot of times, they also harp on the whole, kids would rather watch the games than actually play them themselves. And it's like, well, kind of. I think it's more along the lines of a lot of the games that they're watching are games that they can't own for whatever reason. They don't have the funds, don't have the money, or in the case of something like Minecraft, they're watching it because they want to get some inspiration. Hey, I watch Minecraft videos because I want to learn how to do things. I'm still learning how to do things. I mean, it's a simple freaking game, but yet it's very hard to make things that look good and do things efficiently. And I'm always watching videos like that. And a lot of times I'm watching videos of games that I've never seen before, and I'm trying to figure out whether or not it's something that I'd want to play, or it's a game that I know that I would never enjoy playing myself, but I enjoy watching someone else play it. It's to me, it's a virtual living room, a virtual couch. It's certainly much more interesting to me to watch than, say, network television. To be honest with you, I can't remember the last time I turned on my TV to watch anything. I really can't. There hasn't been any real network TV that I said, oh, I gotta sit down and watch this. Now, that being said, I sat down and watched some Doctor Who the other day, and I watched it on demand because I can't. It's not on Netflix yet, at least in the U.S. yet. So I had to do that. But then what was the thing I was watching? I was watching something. I actually caught it live. I think the one day I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch this live because it's on right now. And it was Doctor Who, and I was like, oh, let's let me see this live. And holy crap, I forgot how frustrating it is to get 5 minutes of show and 25 minutes of advertisements. It was so bad. I'm like, oh my god, what? I forgot. It's been so long since I watched network TV. I've forgotten how much commercials you have to sit through, and you get like 2 minutes of story and then 5 minutes of commercials. It's terrible. And And so, yeah, I've been a little bit spoiled by the internet as well. It's like, oh, at least the advertisements don't stop the video half the time, or they're advertisements that I can skip, or at the very least they're advertisements that don't take very long. Although YouTube does, I have seen a couple ads on YouTube that are like 45 minutes long, which I'm like, I don't know why that exists. Why would I want to watch an infomercial length thing before I watch a 20-minute video? That does not compute. But I think those are like the fan things. Like you can do a fan advertisement or something, and people just put whatever video they feel like putting up there, and it's a whole 45-minute video. It's like, eesh, you really should revisit that and try something a little bit shorter. But it's I mean, I feel like I think I've pretty much said everything I could say. There was no conclusion to be had there. That was just my thoughts on that. So as far as the Steam broadcasting is concerned, I feel like maybe that's what they're trying to go for. I think they're going for more of the virtual couch thing, not for the we need a piece of Twitch's pie. Although I'm sure they wouldn't mind having a piece of Twitch's pie either, because Twitch is making some money, which is why Amazon bought them out, because Amazon's they're no fools. They won't buy somebody that's not making money. So, and for that matter, they won't buy someone who's not making money and not make changes. I mean, if they bought a company out of difference to their board members, which I've seen happen from other companies, where the board is like, you know what, we need to offload this company because they're not doing anything, and they go and call in some favors, and another company that is completely incongruous to what that other company is doing buys them out just out of deference to their board, because they can get more leverage over their board members. And then what'll happen is they'll just come in and they'll just make a whole bunch of changes, and they'll start shutting things down and just causing as much attrition as they can. The fact that Amazon has largely untouched Twitch lets you know that they are pretty happy with the amount of money that's coming in there. So I think as far as Steam streaming goes, Steam broadcasting goes, I think that's what they're going for. I don't think it's going to be something that there's going to be any kind of breakout stars or anything like that. I think all the breakout stars have moved over to platforms that are for that, like Twitch or Hitbox, or I see this other one that the Shaft podcast was on. It's what was it called? Beam or something like that. I've been keeping my eye on that to see if that makes any waves. They're like in beta right now. I could sign up for it, but I don't know that I want to. I don't know that I want to yet. Or even Game Wisp with the watch rooms. They're gonna have they have those running. I'm still waiting actually for them to roll out their video channels again, because I would like to update my channel. It's been a long time. I had a lot of troubles updating it, and I kind of stopped, and now they haven't quite rolled that feature back out again, so I'm kind of waiting there for them to get back on that so I can get my channel updated over there. But yeah, so Steam broadcasting, there was some interesting things being broadcast the other day that I looked at it. Like, apparently people have figured out how to get VLC and other media players to stream through Steam broadcasting. So there was lots of anime being broadcast. I'm sure there was some porn at some point in time. Various other things going on there, shenanigans. I don't think I would have the brass balls necessary to do something like that, because you would have to have a throwaway account, I would think, to be able to sit down on there and actively violate the broadcast streaming terms of service, because otherwise you're going to lose access to all of your games and all of your everything else in there. That said, there's been one of the other things that kind of turns me off to the way that Steam's doing the broadcasting thing is that they have sort of they go a little bit above and beyond as far as the rules of etiquette go. Now, there's certain rules that I agree with, rules that Twitch has finally put in place, like, hey, put a damn shirt on, you know? Like, there's some things that I can sort of agree with, particularly when I looked at some of the more popular channels on Twitch. I just did it just out of curiosity the other day, and yeah, lots of fake boobs, lots and lots of fake boobs and lots of cleavage. So it was just, it kind of it worries me a little bit sometimes, but it's some of their rules go even beyond that. It's like, hey, no swearing. I'm like, I can see where you're coming from, but in the words of my own, fuck you. Yeah, I'm a grown ass adult. I will swear whenever I damn well please. I don't really care. I try not to make it a thing. I try not to do it often because it's a sign of. I grew up with the idea that it was a sign of lack of education if you swear a lot. But I do it. I do it mostly to be very clear in my my emotions, I suppose. Very clearly convey emotions, A, or B, when it's ridiculously funny to do it, or somewhere close to being funny to do it. You know, sometimes it's just downright funny to just curse right out of the thin air, or say something that is a little bit racy. But I generally reserve that for times when it seems appropriate to do so. But even then, like, the pressure of streaming through Steam and not, the pressure of like, you can't say this at all. It's like, yeah, no thanks. Especially given that Valve can very easily open up the ban hammer and then I've lost access to all my library and all of my games and everything else. Like, nah, thank you. I'm not going to take that risk. Thanks very much. I'm going to do something that's completely unaffiliated to you and to my virtual library that I can very easily lose access to, that I've paid lots of money for. Also around the Steam pipes, Steam's been having a little bit of problems with their gem auction stuff that they introduced this week. Apparently, according to the internet, there were some duplication bugs that were happening, and people were getting ridiculous amounts of gems in their accounts and being able to win every auction that came along. So they've gone back, they rolled back all the changes that happened and fixed whatever bug was in there, and then let it rip again. So that's back in swing of things. I still don't quite understand the whole thing, like the Steam trading cards and the gems and the auctions and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'll leave that for someone else to figure out. I'll just pay in cold hard cash. I think that's still a valid currency on Steam. I mean, so so that's just me being an old man. In addition to that, there's rumors. I'll link you to the Polygon article that the Steam holiday sale is going to begin December 18th. It seems like PayPal has yet again accidentally let the cat out of the bag, at least in Japan. So possibly we'll see. Last time these rumors came out, they were true about Steam. And that was only a few weeks ago. So it has happened again, and again it's PayPal. So more than likely, we'll probably see the holiday sale beginning on December the 18th. Last year it began on the 19th, so it also sort of lines up in that regard as well. So keep your eyes peeled on that. That's about all the Steam news that I have. Some other news. Papers, Please, the game that is a breakout indie success story. The game that I have not played, and I don't think I will, because it's just not sort of my genre of things that I mean, it's a strategy game, but it's still not really it's not the kind of game that I would enjoy, I don't think. But it has just been released on iOS. There was a little bit of a hiccup there with the Apple Store. The dev, went online and said, like, look, for the iOS version, you're not going to be able to turn the nudity on for the nude body scanner portion of the game. Which, for those of you unaware of what Papers, Please is, it's basically you're like a border agent, and you have a bunch of people coming into the border or wanting to cross the border, and you have to sort of check them out. You have to check out their paperwork. You have to you can scan them to see if they have weapons, and part of that scanning is there's a toggle switch that lets you either have nudity or non-nudity as far as the scanning goes. There was a misunderstanding from Apple where they thought the game had porn in it. So they said that you won't be able to publish it on the Apple Store without changes. The dev, complied and said, look, well, you just won't have the ability to turn the nudity off, or on, I should say. It'll just be off all the time. And he petitioned Apple to just kind of take a look at it again, and they said, oh, you know what? They came back and said, we were wrong. It was a misunderstanding. We thought there was something more nefarious going on, not that it was just, kind of, it was very, I guess tame is the word I'm looking for. It was not pornographic in that it was meant to, get a rise out of you. It was more just the look and feel of the game. It was tame. It was artwork kind of thing. And they said that, that was a misunderstanding on their part. So perhaps the iOS version will get that toggle back. I don't know. I haven't heard yet about that. So that's out. That's a thing. A lot of people picking that up. It seems to me like that would be a good thing for mobile devices too. The way that game seems to play out. So that's probably I can understand all the hype and all the excitement about it. So that's a thing. And so we got a couple screenshots. I'll link you to Kotaku. A couple screenshots about Just Cause 3 coming out. They look rather beautiful, the screenshots. I'm liking what I see. I played Just Cause 2. I liked it. I didn't finish. Well, did I finish the game? I don't think I finished the game. I think I got very far in the game, but it was one of those things where it got grindy to the point where I was like, I'll come back to this some other day, and I never came back to it. But it was still a very good game. I enjoyed it. So I'm keeping an eye out for Just Cause 3, and I'll link you to the article that has some more screenshots in it. No other information came out. It was just a bunch of screenshots. And some things with Mojang. Mojang has finally released Scrolls. That was released on the 11th. Scrolls is a trading card / strategy game. I don't know what you would call it. I know it's a strategy game, but I don't know if it's like there are cards involved. And there's some tactics involved. It's like a chessboard, and you can have different cards and different abilities and all that stuff. It's been in beta for quite some time. It has now been released fully, so it's out there. They've also put some. There was also an article a little bit earlier that I don't have the article link for you, and probably won't link to it. But talking about how they put some safeguards in place to keep people from spending a lot of money in their store on this stuff. There's like a cap on it, so they seem to be handling it pretty well. They seem to be handling it the way that I would expect something with in-app or purchases and all that stuff to be handling it. So it's all good things. It's notable because it's the first thing that Mojang has published in forever, other than Minecraft. This is their second thing that they've published ever. So hopefully it does well for them. We'll see. Of course, now that they're part of Microsoft, doesn't quite have the impact it once had as far as keeping them in the red, or keeping them in the black, I should say. But I'm sure it's still an accomplishment in its own right. So very good news to them. Also, very quickly, there has been a video I will link you to for SoulZero, from the SoulZero developer, that there's going to be an introduction of a map editor into SoulZero. I'll talk about a little bit more about that in my SoulZero episodes, but I'll leave the link here so you can see it, and you might want to go check that out. But anyway, I still haven't gotten through all my news here, but that will do it for this episode of Cube Ramblings. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.